All right, get some of the nerves out. I finally just decided to be brave and put it out there. Why I left the church. I remember at 8 years old, seeing my grandfather have Bible studies and being so active in church, and I really looked up to him. So I wanted to be part of this really big thing in his life. So I just remember in his house at one of his Bible studies that he led me in the prayer, for Jesus to be my salvation and to be a new person and all of that. And then I was just kind of crazy extreme, and from even a young age, of anything I could do to volunteer, any way I could have Jesus in my life, any way I could be part of what the church is doing, I wanted to do. I wanted to memorize scriptures. I was part of Awanas as a kid in the Baptist church we were going to. And I just always kept plugged in and really made that my life from a young age. After that, really just about a year after that, my parents went through a custody battle. I ended up being removed from my mom's care, being in my dad's care. And my dad was a very abusive person. Verbal, emotional, sexual abuse, all of these things happened there. And because I already had religion rooted in me, it was the one thing that was consistent, reliable, the thing I felt I could kind of hide in and feel some level of protection from. So after going through that for, I think it was about a year and a half, somewhere around there, I did end up being back with my mom again. And then there was just there's a huge story there. Basically, I went back to my mom it was an agreement to just see her for the summer. But when I told my mom what happened, she obviously was not going to let me go back in that environment. So there was a lot of seeing counselors and doctors. There was lots of moving, lots of hiding. We had the police and the FBI searching for us. So it was a really not normal childhood for me. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of living very poor, living with other people, or trying to hide until we could get lawyers and stuff to really figure stuff out, so I didn't just get shit back with my dad. So a lot of that was going on. Also doing school. So this is middle school years up to kind of first 2 years of high school. It was all very we had counselors, social workers. We had things we had to do all the time in order to meet everything the court wanted. And I would say these years never felt like real stable years for me. So going to church was key to everything I want to do. It was the one thing that gave me some consistency and some life is okay kind of refuge. So the last 2 years of high school is kind of when things settled down, and we had less of doctors and counselors and all that kind of stuff. So I was probably about age 16. My junior year, and ended up finding about one church was a Baptist church I went to that was close to school, and then after that one I went to this other church which was a Pentecostal church that a lot of my friends went to, so it was an easy decision to go there. And that's really where the beginning of me being really involved at church and really knowing what I'm doing really happened. So that church I went to for I think just under 10 years, probably around 9 years. I volunteered in children's church, youth church. I went on mission trips. I was in choir. I volunteered cleaning the grounds. I eventually worked as a janitor on the grounds. I was just very involved. I was at church almost every day for many years. And I saw a lot of good things, but I saw a lot of things I didn't like at the same time. Saw a lot of being taken advantage of for your time and your money. For us youth, it was more time, because that's more of what we had than money like the adults did. And so we were just expected to do a lot. That's not just my story, that's a lot of other people's story. We were just expected anything that needed volunteering or cleaning or something the church was doing that they wanted people to do. We were always the first people we called. We were the group that would always do everything. And for me, that kind of came to a point where I realized how much we were being used and not appreciated. We weren't just volunteering now. We were the pressure to do stuff got really intense. So I remember the pastor's daughter and another associate pastor, they were getting married, which was great. everything was good with that. But then we found out they didn't even ask if the youth ministry would like basically run the entire reception, bring the food out, build everything up, all the decorations, all that stuff, serve all the food to everybody, clean everything up, and break everything down. They just assumed we would do that. They didn't ask us. So when the meeting came down to basically tell us what we're doing, that's what they did. They said, on this date and these hours, you all are going to be doing this because it's for the pastor of the church. But it was never a question of like, if you could, are you available, sign up to do this. No, it was like, you all are doing this. And things started to progress in that way of not being asked, but being told this is what you're going to do. And for whatever reason they would give. It's for the church, it's for the ministry, it's, you can't say no to the pastors, or if you want to be more important in the church and have a higher leadership role in the church, then you have to do these things, because every time you say no and don't do it, it's kind of like a business or just a job. At any time you say no, that always comes down on you as pressure, as far as not being able to be more involved, not being able to do the things they expect you to do. So that it starts to look down on you, like you're not faithful, you're not wanting to be part of the vision and be available all the time. And this is coming to my junior and senior year in high school, and man, I never was paid for any of it. The only thing I ever was paid for was when I worked janitorial staff, where I actually had a job, and where I worked in the on-site daycare for a short time. I got paid for that. But everything else is unpaid. Everything else is voluntary. And there was only a small group of us who volunteered and did everything for many years. You just start to see, for me, where the crack started to happen wasn't in the faith or the religion first. It was in the culture. It was seeing someone preach and say this is how people should be treated, compared to how you're actually treated in real life when you're doing all these things. And you're not just someone new coming in who gets love bombed. You're someone that they expect to do all these things, basically until they burn you out. And I just was starting to see this contradictory thing happen between how we were treated and how they would preach about treating people. So that continued on for a while. I mean, I still towed the line. I still did what I felt I needed to do to feel like I had importance there and that people appreciated me. But I slowly was being removed from different things. So I was doing like the Sunday school class for like middle school age kids on Sundays. And I was brought in for a meeting and told that someone else was replacing me. And that was that. And no real explanation of anything to that. And then I just saw like, it was just a domino effect. Like once you're removed from one thing, then they don't really want you a part of anything. They want to put someone else that they're more buddy with, or is like a church family or whatever. And you get knocked out of these things, even if you've been doing them for years. So some of it was like that. Some of it was my own choice. Like it was my own choice to step out of volunteering in the youth ministry. It was my choice to stop volunteering for things they would do on the weekends or charity, humanitarian type stuff. I just slowly started to not sign up for that stuff anymore. And then I slowly started just to say no to the stuff they would say, oh, you're doing this. I just started saying no to things. So then the things I really want to do that I was prioritizing, the leadership would just remove me out of. So it was obvious they were moving me out of any importance of what I felt I had built there. And my husband had been to this church before and didn't really want to go. So he was kind of my excuse to be like, I'm going to go to another church now, which I expected the leadership to want to talk to me about leaving a church I've been at for almost over a decade, but there was no anything from them about anything about that at all. But I noticed I did get treated differently once I left the church. A lot of people didn't want to be my friend anymore, thought I wasn't a Christian anymore, didn't understand why I would just go to a different church because of my husband, or soon-to-be husband, but even after we were married, people still thought the same thing. So it was very frustrating to kind of turn you back on a place where you realize you've gone to a point where they don't really care that you're there, you're gone. So I really struggled with that for a long time. I went to different churches with my husband, and we kind of just tried out places. They were okay, but not really what I was looking for. And we just did that for years of trying different places, and I don't feel like I ever settled in another place. From that church, it was like the moment I went there, I wanted to be involved. I wanted to, further the kingdom, advance the gospel, all those kind of cliche expressions. I felt I was important, and I felt I was helping the goal of that place, of that church, to reach people. And I never really found that again of all the different churches that I went to. So I really started to think, is there something wrong with me? Or what's going on of why I can never feel settled again? And what I ultimately came to a conclusion with is that I just got burned out of that one place and gave everything. And any place I went to after that, it's like you could see little things that are like red flags. You just see little things that speak to a larger behavior, a larger system going on that can be red flags. There can be things that are you looking like, oh, that's good, they're doing the right thing. But I'll tell you, more often than not, there's stuff you see where you just realize there's a mishandling of money, a mishandling of people. There's leadership that doesn't care about the people except for their money. There's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors at churches, which I feel like in 2024, more of this is being exposed of like inappropriate things pastors are doing, but also what churches are doing, which I hope continues to be exposed, because that for me was a big thing when I witnessed and heard stories from friends of mine of things they saw that we kind of jointly saw in different situations of money being mishandled in the churches, of people being mistreated in churches, and I started to hear more stories of this kind of thing, because I kind of thought, oh, maybe it's just the Pentecostal Assembly of God, fringy kind of churches that I was in that happened. But then I started to hear more stories of people in Hillsong churches, Assembly of God, even more conservative branches like Lutheran, Presbyterian. These problems are happening in all these different places. So for me, I came to a point where I realized what I'm seeing being allowed and being okayed is starting to have an impact on my faith. For a while it didn't. For a while it was just, maybe these people aren't making the best choices. Maybe somewhere else they'll be making better choices. Maybe you'll see a place and you'll get back to that again of like wanting to pour your life into something and feeling on board with the mission statement and feeling like you can volunteer and be part of something really good. Over and over again, it kind of became more of, that's not going to happen. They have in the church who they want, and there wasn't a lot of open doors. And so it really kind of started to make me feel more uncomfortable in church than comfortable. And I think what happened next is I just started looking around more at not just the people in church, but what I believed that church was doing and what I had always thought the purpose of church was. I always saw it as a way that it was supposed to help people, build people up, give people a foundation in life, give people a reason to be kind, and kind of create this community. And the more I went to different churches, the more I was having this crisis with the culture of church, the more it started to have an impact on my faith in the religion itself. And I had a really hard time reconciling that these systemic problems were being okay or swept under the rug, and realizing that I was seeing less and less of God, less and less of Christ in the church. So much to a point that I feel like I would hear preachers preach and I would just be really upset or frustrated by what they're saying, because I just don't feel like they are doing what they say they're doing, but yet they want to, be over everybody else, that everybody else has to live a certain way. So I didn't want to lose my religion. I didn't want to not be a Christian anymore. I was kind of desperately trying to find something to hold on to keep me in the faith. I was looking at different faiths, but something I want to say is I just always remember this one conference I went to, and the guy said that you know that your faith is true because it can stand up to anything else. Like nothing else will hold credence. So I took that to heart and just thought, okay, well, I'm going to look into other religions in the world. So I remember I looked into Buddhism, paganism, read some on Hinduism, Native American beliefs, just basically anything I could learn about. I've always wanted to learn about different religions and know more about them, and I felt like this gave me the perfect excuse to do so, to give myself permission to do so. You know, I found that I would kind of experiment with these different ideas to see if I fit in any of these different things, and I would keep going back to church and not go for a while and then go again. And I finally got to the point where I realized I can't do the I have to make a change, because if I don't, I'm just going to completely fall out of my faith, which I didn't want to do. I just knew I wasn't having any life. I wasn't having any passion or anything that made it feel alive to me of why I even had the salvation experience to begin with. So I remember I was in church one time, and I sat in there and I just realized I don't believe in this anymore. Kind of the structure of it, what was being preached, a lot of it just logically wasn't making any sense to me anymore. So a friend of mine had converted from Protestantism to Catholicism. And so I thought, you know what? This is my chance to see if maybe I want to go to something more conservative. If it's just the program of church, I'm over. If it's just the inconsistency and the taking advantage of people, if it's just stuff going on that seems like an independent church or loosey-goosey morals, that there's no one to keep a pastor in line, like maybe all these things coincide for a reason that I'm experiencing because I'm in these Pentecostal type churches. Maybe I just need to get out of this structure. And so I thought, you know what, my friend's really smart, and she's, I would consider a very faithful person. So I decided, you know, I was going to ask her about her reasonings and dive into learning. And so I did that, and it took me a few years, but I finally decided to go through the adult catechism classes and get confirmed Catholic, like do all the things you need to do to be Catholic. And it was kind of like, I felt like, okay, I think I could find a home here. I think this would make sense for me more than staying in the Protestant side, which it did for a while. I really gravitated towards the consistency of Mass. As long as it's not like special Mass is the same every single Sunday. You can count on it to be the same. And then, you know, but like they do have like a mini sermon type deal within the Mass where that is always different. But as far as, you know, kind of the format of the whole thing is the same. So it was very easy for me to be comfortable falling into that routine. And I really appreciate things about being Catholic. I think confession is amazing. I think the Mass is really beautiful. There's a lot about it that I really love. I think a lot of theology in Catholicism makes more sense than in Protestantism. I think that it's given a really bad rap and people say a lot of negative things, but I feel like it has a lot of good to offer. And for me, it was the best place to be in. I continued with that for probably next couple of years. But I couldn't help that there were certain things culturally with the church. I felt the contradiction of stuff, you know. And I think like public headlines and stuff too of abuse in the church, abuse with priests and minors, different documentaries that come out about Catholic church locations in other parts of the world outside the United States that abuse has been going on, and pretty much nothing was done. Priests were just moved from one place to another, but as far as actual criminal charges and people getting justice, doesn't seem like a thing that really happens, that these priests kind of get hidden away. And also there was this is a couple of years ago, but there was a thing going on about exceptions for women who had abortions, that they could come back into the church and stuff. So I think there's some things where it's like the Catholic Church has held so in the past, and so to this level of being super involved in people's lives, that there are these hard and fast rules that kind of steal people's faith, that they can't be in the church and pursuing God based upon, certain decisions in their life. And I feel like I started to really question those things. And I think the abuse in the church, to me, it's like I'm seeing similar abuse of what I went through. And to be part of an organization and continue, it's like you're continuing to let that happen without justice happening. And I think ultimately that led me to taking a break from going to Mass and being part of the Catholic Church. Something I still struggle with, because I know for me, in my case, I never got justice for the abuse that was done to me. I wasn't believed by the people that matter, like the judges and stuff. So, my case, there was never criminal charges for my abuser or anything that ever happened to them for what happened to me. And so my heart goes out to those who were victimized and never got justice. It's never acknowledged. And I think I just didn't want to be part of something that just wants to push that stuff under the rug. So, I think I kind of went on and off for a while. The thing is I still really like the structure of what that church was, but I really had to step away from it for those reasons. And, now I still find myself wanting to have a faith and feel grounded in something. So I think, more recently, but I kind of dabbled in learning about it for years. But, right now in my life, I find a lot of comfort in the neo-paganism movement, where it's not, Wicca's part of the pagan thing, but that's not what I'm part of. So I've just been enjoying studying it, learning mythology, learning about different deities coming out from different cultures and stuff. So that's kind of where I am and what I've been doing for a while now. But this is my first time ever saying anything publicly that is where I am right now with my faith and my spirituality. So I find it can be as ritualistic or freeing as you want it to be. And I think that might be why a lot of people do get drawn to paganism, because there's so many different sects. There's so many different little groupings under the big umbrella of paganism. So there's really all these different ways of finding spirituality and finding a way that you feel you belong and you can put your passion and purpose into that. So, that's where I'm at now. What really sucks about it is all the relationships that get lost, and how much I built my identity on being a Christian and doing missionary work and volunteering in the church. I built a lot of what I valued in myself on that system, and I put a lot of value in what people thought about me. So it's taken a long time to admit all these things and say these things out loud, that this is where I'm at in my life, and I feel very good with it. I just wanted to go through my journey to let other people know it's okay if you need to step away. It's okay if you don't believe in something anymore. It's okay if you need to find something new, or you need a new identity in life. You need to find something that gives you purpose and passion. And it's definitely a hard journey, but it's definitely one worth taking for sure. And I know there's a lot of people who are still in church, will be in church to the day they die. My husband's still in church, and that's where he finds his purpose and passion in life. And he has a lot of value in being a Christian. And I found that for me, I had to leave the church. It was taking more from me of my peace and my place in this world than it was giving to me. And so for me, it was the best thing was just to step away and find something different. And I know there are some people who leave the church and they never go to another church. They just are maybe agnostic or atheistic, and they just leave the church. For me, I always felt like I wanted to honor all the places I've been that have taught me something. Like those are still core and part of who I am. So I know that a lot of my beliefs and my morals are on that Christian foundation. But as far as, you know, being part of the church and part of that faith, I'm not anymore. I left the church, you know, first the heartbreak of the culture and losing relationships, and then the heartbreak of the faith, and just realizing it's not a part of my life and I don't believe it anymore. So now I'm, you know, in the realm of, you know, the pagan belief structure, which I really like. And, you know, I think we still always have the struggles in life. So it's not like switching faiths, all of a sudden everything's solved for you and everything's fulfilled and you don't have problems anymore. Like, you still have to live life. But I feel like if what you believe and what you're doing can give you peace and be a help to you in life, then that's all you really need to say. I mean, that's all you really need to think about it. You don't have to feel pressured to be in something if it's no longer valuable. Which for me, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, you know, leaving the Christian faith was the best thing I could do. And I'm very fortunate that my husband and I have been able to stay together. It's been a hard transition of, you know, we married each other and we both were pretty active in church. So for me to be in this position now where I'm not at all part of the church, I don't think many marriages survive that. So I'm really thankful for that we're still together, surviving that, and we're doing well. And so, you know, I guess I don't know what else to say, but I just wanted to share that journey and let you know it's going to be okay. Even if you lose friendships, relationships, even if people really start to show their true colors and don't care, it's okay. There was this quote I saw that Keanu Reeves said where it was like, if someone's rude or they're mean or nasty to you, like, he was saying something like, they've just showed you like that they're not worth your time anymore. They're showing you that. But there's so many other people on this planet that could be worth your time and aren't going to tear you down or say mean things to you. And so that's really stuck with me, you know, where you have to do what's good for you, but you also want to be this well-rounded person so that you can be good for other people too. But anyways, I don't know. I'm just rambling on at this point, but I just wanted to say that it's okay. If you're going to leave a faith or system of any kind that you've been in for a long time, and that's where your identity is in, and that's what people think of you, and you want to change that, you can change it. You can change it and decide what's best for you. You're not locked or stuck in something just because other people want you to be there. If you have any thoughts, opinions, comments, if you'd like to see more videos about things like this, definitely let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, make any comments you'd like. I'd love to hear back from you guys. Hopefully nice things, but it is the internet. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.